Hello and welcome. Now, should global tech giants such as Google and Facebook store your personal information at data centers in the US or in your home country? This is a question that's being asked repeatedly by many a government around the world. More so of late after the Facebook Cambridge Analytica data scandal and alleged Russian meddling in the 2016 US presidential election. Last year, the Indian government had set up a high-powered panel to suggest changes to the country's data protection law. The panel is holding its final meeting today. According to reports, one of the changes it has proposed in the law is that internet giants such as Google and Facebook should store data belonging to Indians within India. However, this rule is to apply only to sensitive personal information. But reports say that the panel is divided over the issue of whether companies should be forced to store data about Indians within India. Now, this is because many Indian companies process personal data of European and American nationals as well. Now, some in the Indian technology industry argue that data localization may hurt India's $135 billion software exports, curtail innovation, and hurt economic growth. The Indian government's concerns are valid. Indian economy is increasingly getting digitized. The government is pushing a Digital India initiative as it tries to meet developmental goals for the 1.3 billion Indians. But in a country which has some 900 million net users and which is one of the world's fastest growing smartphone markets, regulatory measures are at best poor. Data protection rules are still managed by the Indian Information Technology Act of 2000. So, building safeguards against data breaches is of paramount importance to the Indian government. It's also believed that law enforcement agencies, especially counter-terrorism experts, would greatly benefit if data is stored locally inside India. Now, earlier this year, it was revealed that the Facebook data breach had affected more than 500,000 Indian users. Now, this was a minuscule percentage of the more than 200 million users that Facebook has in India. Facebook has since taken corrective measures. There have also been concerns over possible election meddling by foreign agencies using the technology route. But is the answer to the problem more regulation of technology companies or allowing a free flow of data? The panel headed by former Indian Supreme Court Judge B.N. Srikrishna remains divided on this question. Its draft recommendations on the new law on data security will be submitted to the federal government by the end of this month. But if the latest reports are to be believed, it is working on a robust system of checks and balances to guard the personal data of more than 1 billion Indians from being misused. Now, when it comes to data security, India is at a nascent stage. It's yet to catch up with the risks and realities of data breaches. But some, such as the European Union, the United States, Canada and Australia, already have stringent guidelines in place. Now, for instance, the European Union has one of the most stringent data protection standards anywhere in the world. The European Union General Data Protection Regulation grants people more control over how companies use their personal data. The new data rules give online users a choice to opt out of highly targeted online ads, something that have made companies such as Facebook a money machine. Also, social networks need to regain Europeans' consent every time they want to use their data. And that's not all. Companies will have to present requests for users' consent in an easily accessible form using clear and plain language. Users now also have the right to access their data and the right to ask companies to delete them altogether anytime. Because it could be subject to fines of up to 4% of annual revenues, which could amount to millions of dollars for big companies such as Facebook and Google. Essentially, the new data rules in the European Union will make data breaches very, very expensive for companies. Now, tough European rules stand in sharp contrast to the lack of privacy regulation in the United States. The US does not have any general privacy laws. The laws in the US vary from state to state. In fact, data privacy is also regulated by some laws such as Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act for healthcare devices and the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act in case the user involved is below the age of 13. While there are recommendations and best practices for internet companies by the US Federal Trade Commission, these are merely ethics and not binding by law. Now, Canada has a principal data privacy law which is called Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents Act. Under the existing data law in Canada, businesses have an obligation to ensure that personal information is accurate and up to date. It also provides individuals with the right to withdraw consent and requires businesses to destroy personal information that is no longer needed. Now, there are two main federal laws related to data privacy in Australia: the Privacy Act of 1988 and Telecommunications Act. As per the Privacy Act, internet companies have to comply with privacy principles when they are collecting information that could identify a user personally. They can also give users the option to remain anonymous when possible. The Telecommunications Act, however, mandates that service providers have to keep information about customers confidential.